Today I'll be continuing my video series on the different aspects of the college application process, and in this one I will be discussing 10 tips that I have for both planning and writing a college application essay, whether it's for the Common App or for a supplement or really anything in between. So I really hope you guys take away some tips from this, and if you have some of your own tips, fellow high school seniors or those viewers who are already in college or university, please feel free to add your own tips in the comments down below just to help anyone else who is looking for some advice. Tip number 1 is directed right at high school juniors or current 11th graders if you're not familiar with the term, and that is to look at prompts early. When I say look at the prompts early, I really mean you should look at prompts now if possible. And the Common Application actually releases their Common App essay prompts every February for the upcoming school year. So you already have access to those 7 prompts for this year, and I would definitely check those out as soon as possible just so you are aware of what is expected of you in terms of the topic or prompt, at least for that essay. Every other school will probably have varying dates in which the prompts are going to be released, so maybe just do some research and figure out when that is. I remember last year, after reading these really vague and open-ended prompts, I was so confused and couldn't think of a topic immediately. The first thing I did, and this is my second tip, is to go online and Google these success stories. When I say that, I mean you should Google things like essays that worked for blank school or essays for the class of 2017, and you'll get a lot of examples of really well-written, unique, and creative essays. When looking at these, it's a really good way to kind of get inspiration and figure out what exactly you want to say, but at the same time, you don't want to pressure yourself into having an essay of that same caliber, because there are always people who got accepted to those same schools who did not post their essays online and may have not had that caliber of writing. So don't compare yourself to it necessarily, just use it as a platform for inspiration and to start brainstorming. The brainstorming process is my tip number 3, and that would be to create sort of a mind map that is all about you. I did this actually on my computer, and I just did bullets, but you can really use whatever format you'd like and just write down different things about yourself, keeping those prompts in mind. I used things like anecdotes from my high school experience, some talents, whether they're abnormal or normal, hobbies, what you do in your free time, things about your friends and family, maybe stories involving them that show different things about yourself, your travels, maybe you went on a mission trip or you had a really, really amazing cultural experience overseas, and then things about your childhood also, whether it's, things involving your family or just involving yourself. And I think just having a bunch of different categories like this, and of course you can always add more, this is just a really good way to start getting the juices flowing, thinking about things about yourself. The college application process was a really great way for me to sort of reflect on who I am as a person, because all of the essays ask you to talk about yourself or an aspect of yourself, and so really laying it all out on paper is going to give you a great foundation for different things you could choose to write your essays about. This tip, number 4, is definitely geared towards those who have writer's block and are not the best at expressing themselves through writing immediately. I would say to open up your phone or laptop or electronic device, get out your voice memos or recording app, and get out the prompts and just pick one and talk and answer the question as if you were just talking to one of your friends. And this is a really great way to just get your thoughts out there. You can transcribe that audio recording, and then you already have a sort of framework for an essay that you could write. When I first started trying to write my essay, it took me 2 weeks before I actually had a rough draft of my essay, and that's because I just wanted it to be absolutely perfect. So tip number 5 is to start early and have a rough draft, because having a badly written and rough draft is definitely better than having no essay at all. I would say that it's always easy to go back and edit something you've already written rather than trying to write something perfect right away. And I would say to go in with low expectations of your first rough draft or first cut of your essay, because it won't be amazing. It's not going to be amazingly written. And I think that if you just go in with lower expectations of yourself, you'll be able then to work your way up to a more cohesive essay from that first rough draft. Tip number 6 is to both be honest and be genuine in your essay. This isn't really going to be the place for you to brag about your accomplishments or exaggerate and make them seem like they're more than they are, because you want the college or university to accept you for exactly as you are. If you aren't super honest in your essay and you sort of stretch the truth, then they will be accepting a student who maybe isn't exactly like you, and you might not have the best fit once you go to that school, if that makes sense. My 7th tip is to avoid using a thesaurus. I'm someone who always tries to use a thesaurus in my essays for school, mainly because I want to have really varied diction with a strong vocabulary, so I do use it. But for college application essays, I'd say that it can really be tough to use a thesaurus while still maintaining like a natural voice about you. So you want to sort of make sure you sound as genuine and natural and honest as possible, and a thesaurus might get in the way of doing that. Once you finish a rough draft or your second draft or third draft, whatever you feel comfortable with, I would absolutely definitely get feedback from 2 to 3 people. I think getting information and feedback from more people might get you really confused because you might have conflicting opinions and then you won't be sure what to do. And when you have that feedback, absolutely consider everything the people have said to you. I would not really recommend asking your peers. Instead, ask, a parent, a relative, a teacher, a counselor, an administrator, someone who maybe is older and has already gone through this process and writes in an adult voice. But at the same time, take their feedback into account. But don't lose the voice that you had when you originally started your essay, because I think college admissions officers have read enough essays at this point where they can tell if an essay is from the voice of an 18-year-old high school student or from like a 50-year-old adult. And so you want to make sure you preserve that. For me personally, I found this tip really helpful. One of my teachers told me this towards the end of my junior year when I started thinking about these sorts of things. And he told me that in the essay I write, whatever it's about, you always want to make sure you're showing and not telling. And what that means is that you want to be really indirect about the way you describe yourself. Instead of saying, I am a giving and generous and caring person, you may want to show that through a story about your volunteering efforts and your community service and how that's really impacted the community and made you grow as a person, and telling that entire story with, imagery and memories that's really going to show that you're a giving, caring person rather than just telling the college that you are one. And you want to show them what you are instead of just directly saying it. My last and final tip is super, super important, and that is do not blow off the supplement essays. I cannot emphasize this enough because I have a lot of friends who put so much effort into their common application essay or the main essay a school is requiring from them, and then they just sort of don't do the optional supplements, which is definitely a mistake in my opinion, because if you're given an option to show more about yourself, absolutely take it. And I think the supplement essays can show a lot more about you as a person, and they can be just as important because in your, file that a college admissions officer reads, they read first your main essay and then all of the essays that follow, and that all kind of goes in one package. It's not that they matter less because they're supplemental, they matter just as much. So you definitely want to put as much effort into those as you did your main essay. I hope you guys kind of found this helpful. Let me know what else you want to know about applying to college. And again, if you've already been through this process, definitely leave some advice down below. Be sure to check out my previous video if you enjoyed this one. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also check out my Snapchat, Instagram, and Tumblr accounts. Bye guys!